Hey, welcome back to the Invigorate podcast. Today's episode is part of our exclusive Invisible Strength series, where we're featuring athletes and supporters alike who are navigating chronic illnesses. Today, we have a unique perspective. We're excited to introduce Savanna, who is not only a star soccer player at Creighton University, she's a strong advocate and supporter of her sister navigating cystic fibrosis. Savannah, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a junior soccer player at Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska. I grew up in Papillion, which is just about 20 minutes away, so homegrown. Sports have always been a huge part of my life, as my family is full of athletes. Both my parents played college sports, my aunts and uncles played high level college, even my cousins, and the ones that aren't old enough to be in college yet have played just about any sport under the sun. So naturally, my sisters and I grew up playing sports, including volleyball, basketball, and soccer, and all the other things.
So it runs in the family genes for sure.
Yes, for sure. If that's a gene that can get passed on, we all got it.
Yeah. So you said sisters plural. How many are there?
I have three younger sisters. The oldest of my youngest sisters are Charlie. She's committed to play volleyball in Alabama, so big deal. And then Tess, she's the one with cystic fibrosis. And she's 14. She's a freshman in high school, so that's a fun time in life. And then my youngest sister is 12, and she's in middle school, so lots of fun stages.
Yeah. You played a lot of sports growing up. You're at Creighton now. What does your day to day look like?
Yeah, so I'm on the soccer team, so it's like a full-time job on top of school. So right now we're back into our 20-hour weeks of just soccer. So 20 hours a week soccer, that includes practices, lifting, and then we have games coming up. So we're kind of getting hot and heavy into it again. And then I'm also full-time student, obviously. I'm pursuing exercise science on the pre-physical therapy track, kind of just with an idea to stay around athletes and, help those that are injured kind of get back to where they were at before and that sort of idea.
I'm also really into movement and how it helps those of us with chronic illnesses. You'll have to share some inside tips and advice later on. You said Tess is 14 now with cystic fibrosis. How did that come about?
Yeah, so we were lucky that she was diagnosed at birth, which, wasn't always the case. So when she was born and we found out she had CF, my sister Charlie and I actually had to go back and get tested ourselves because we didn't know, if we could have that. But I think since my parents already had two other kids that were in sports, that they were just like, well, we're just going to treat her the same way that we treated these other two and just kind of throw her into soccer and whatever else. So I think that that's been really cool. Just, from day one, I think my parents just kind of decided that, well, like, yes, she has this, but we're going to kind of just parent how we know to parent. And that means we're just going to let her go run around and try soccer, try t-ball, try, volleyball, basketball, and just throw her into everything. So that was cool. Yes.
All the things that kids do.
Yeah.
For someone who's very ignorant about CF, what is it? You can tell from a single test?
So, cystic fibrosis is more of like a genetic condition. So, they test for a protein that your body produces, which will result in the thicker mucus and just complications with like lungs and your digestive system. And so, it was like a series of tests more so, but they're able to look at it just like in your DNA as well. They do a sweat test, which so they test like the saltiness because it does affect the salt exchange in your body. And so that's what kind of causes that thicker mucus. But so it's just a genetic condition that affects, your lungs and digestive system.
So how does that affect her on a day-to-day basis or in sports? I would imagine if it's your lungs, it would be hard to breathe.
Yes, so it does make it harder to breathe. So she has an inhaler that if it's kind of like similar to asthma in that sort of sense. So if she needed to, get a quick, little puff of her inhaler, she can do that. But she also takes daily medications, and she has a vest that vibrates that will shake up the mucus in her lungs as well. Yeah. So that's interesting. And then as well, she takes enzymes with every meal to help her digest the food and just get the nutrients that she needs out of what she eats.
She takes medication, she's maybe has an inhaler. Does it disrupt her life in any other capacity, or is it as long as it's managed, it's under control?
Yeah, so when she was younger, she had a lot of issues just maintaining weight because she wasn't getting a lot of those nutrients from food. So that was a really big struggle for her. And so with the development of Trikafta, it's just a new medication that she can take. It helps kind of balance out the salt imbalance and the mucus, and it thins it out. So from there, she's been able, honestly, to live an almost normal lifestyle, which is incredible. We're so blessed for that.
That's amazing. The medications have gotten better. That's amazing to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, you wouldn't even notice anymore. I think she was really thin when she was little, but now you look at her and you wouldn't even be able to tell that she had CF, which is awesome.
That is awesome. The story behind our Invisible Strength campaign, because so many times you can look at someone and you don't know the battles they fight behind the scenes. As a supporter of your sister and with the rest of your family, what are some of the ways you have shown up for her throughout her journey?
Yeah, so she's only been hospitalized twice, which is crazy for a lot of people that deal with CF.
So that's a low benchmark.
Really low, like
Wow.
almost unheard of. And the first time that happened was when she was 7, which is also unheard of because most of the time, individuals with CF are in and out by age 3. So I think that, putting her in sports has probably helped her a lot, just with like building up that respiratory strength and just keeping her active naturally would shake up kind of the mucus in there. But so when that did happen and she was in the hospital, we would go spend time with her. They had a pinball machine, so we would spend lots of time at the pinball machine. But I think mostly just like making sure that she kind of like didn't feel alone in those hard moments, because naturally that's going to take a big toll on anyone's, mental health. So I think just being there and just, acting as if like she's still Tess. It's not like, this, I mean, yes, it is like a big thing that happened, but just treating her the same way and trying to make it seem like, it's just normal family time. It's just normal
Yeah.
dinner time. We're just having it, in the room and all of that. Like, so I think that that was one of the biggest things, was just like, just treating her like Tess. She's always going to be Tess. So
I'm
that was probably the biggest thing.
tearing up because there are times in the hospital, as long as your family's around you, it's like everything's okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was hard for all of us, and I can only imagine what like she's going through and what, anyone goes through. But
These diseases can be harder on the people around them. How did you feel? Did you feel like you had to put on a brave face?
yeah. So I think for me, it was really hard because, I'm big sister. Like, I want to protect her. We went to the same elementary school for a couple years. And so, like, when it first happened, it was like, wow, like, she's not at school with me anymore. I can't, like, protect her. And so I think it was just hard because naturally I would do anything for my sisters. Like, I want to take, those hard times away from her. But I do think that I put on a little bit of a brave face just because I didn't want her to be scared.
Yeah.
Because when you're little, you go to the hospital, that is scary. And there's all these things being done and all these tests and treatments. I just wanted to make sure that, like, no, like, you're good. You're where you need to be. There are people around that love you, that are going to take care of you. And I think that, just trying to show her that, like, she can be strong in a time of, when you feel like you're not. And I think that that was probably the biggest thing for me is just encouraging her to just continue to like stay strong and kind of like get through the process of all of that, but then also to like enjoy the time we get to spend together because I do think that it was a good moment for our whole family just to take a pause and be like, let's spend some good quality time together. Like, I think we get caught up in our day-to-day lives so much that like when those moments did happen, it was just a good reminder of like the important things in life.
I can imagine with 4 girls all in sports that you don't have very many moments to take a pause and spend time together.
No, crazy, crazy travel sports all over the place.
Those reminders, especially coming from a big sister or someone you look up to, can be the words that truly help you get through those times.
Yeah, I can imagine. It was rough visiting sometimes, so I was like, I can't imagine having to sleep there and.
There are definitely hard times and silver linings coming out of those dark periods. But how have you looked at your journey going through college, just growing up in general, being an athlete differently because of your experiences with Tess?
Yeah, so I think she's just kind of been a constant, like, inspiration for me. She's obviously been able to achieve things that, I mean, I've done. She's doing the same things that I've done, with an extra hurdle in place. So she kind of served as an extra reminder growing up, like, things are hard and things are always going to be hard, but you're strong enough to push through it. Like, if she could do it, I can do it. She's having to go to appointments. And I just remember I used to be like terrified of, going to the doctor's office, but to her, it was second nature. So it's like, with sports, it's, I had a hard practice today, like, or I don't know if I have the motivation to go, push through it or push through kind of just a difficult day. But then I just remember like she's, been doing things like that since she was little. Like she's always had to do the hard things, had to go to the doctor's office, had to do, things that I thought were scary. So that was always really cool just to do that. And then through sports, like just a reminder of like every little thing adds up. Like she has to do the proper medications and treatments every single day. But if I can continue to, do the little things off the soccer field that are going to make me better on the field, that's always good too.
Did you ever feel like you couldn't complain because you felt like she did have it harder?
I would say yes sometimes. And so that was a struggle for me. But um, I think that, reminding myself that just because I don't have that, like, doesn't mean that my struggles are any like lesser. But I did kind of feel awful sometimes when I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't want to go to practice today. Like, I'm so tired. And then she'll remind me, like, well, I had to get up at, 5 o'clock this morning to make sure I had time to get to my doctor's appointment before school. And so I was just like, oh, yeah, I feel kind of bad for doing that. Um, yeah. So I would say it did feel kind of weird to complain around her sometimes, but then she kinda just reminded me, like, what to be grateful for, too.
She definitely has had a lot of hurdles. So have you, navigating all of it. What's something that either you or she or your family accomplished that you didn't think would be possible when you were going through some of those dark times?
Watching her make varsity in 2 sports as a freshman was really cool. When we were younger, we didn't know how CF would affect her ability to continue to reach the next level as an athlete, but seeing her be able to jump over those obstacles and do all of that was really cool. And then as well, seeing her grow into the person that she is, become really strong. She's lifting weights like no other. Think she's stronger than me, and I'm in college lifting college weights. Um, that's She's also starting her recruiting process for college sports, which is kind of crazy because I think when we first found out she had CF, that was obviously very scary, just with all the uncertainty. And, just my mom always said, don't Google it because, like it can be hard. But so she's kind of like starting that process. And so even to think that she can fulfill a dream of playing volleyball at the next level is crazy.
It's incredible. I can imagine part of it has to be a testament to your parents treating her like you and your sisters. But I did want to ask you, it's harder to play sports, harder to breathe, but do they recommend exercise and staying active to help?
Yeah, I think that they do. Like if, they're strong enough to be able to kind of keep up in that sort of way,
Okay.
like they would encourage movement and exercise. And honestly, I think that that's such a huge reason she wasn't in and out of the hospital a ton growing up.
That's incredible. We talk a lot about movement and exercise. It's not a cure all end all by any means, but in my experience, if you're able, incorporate exercise, it can make all the difference in the world. So that's incredible. Cystic fibrosis, what do you wish more people understood about it?
The variability within CF is probably one of the things that I wish more people knew about. CF doesn't always present itself the same way in every individual. We're fortunate, my sister's fortunate that she has a slightly more mild condition or experience of CF because she has one of maybe the not so great genes and then one of the more mild versions. So she doesn't have CF as, I don't want to say as bad, but maybe as severe or extreme that some others do. So I think that that's also been a huge reason why she's been able to continue to play sports and all of that. But I think that the movie 5 Feet Apart is about, people with CF in the hospital. I think that does a great job of kind of portraying some of the obstacles, but that story maybe doesn't necessarily apply to everyone with CF. And so just realizing that, just because she has CF doesn't mean that she's going to necessarily like look sick or look like she has a lot of trouble breathing, or she might not look a certain way, but that she does still have CF, and there are lots of people with CF that, look differently and experience different things, and their overall experience of living with CF is just going to be different. So I think that if more people knew that, CF is kind of like a spectrum of things, and so there are things that are, maybe less severe, and then there's more intense cases, but just understanding that not every single person with CF is going to experience it the same way.
I appreciate that with any chronic illness or autoimmune disease, you can have someone who just barely knows they have it, and then someone who's practically on their deathbed in the hospital. I appreciate that every case is unique, and even the same disease can very much look different from person to person. Savannah, you've been amazing person supporting your sister. You have a great head on your shoulders. I want to ask you a few questions about your journey navigating sports, going through college, and juggling all the things, because regardless if you have a specific health condition, it's still a lot to manage. How do you keep it all under control between academics, athletics, and life in between?
Yeah, so I think everything is always about balance and finding that balance in your life of, how much am I gonna prioritize certain things? Like if I have a test coming up, maybe a sacrifice is that I don't get to, maybe go hang out with my friends a ton like that week. But then I make sure that over the weekend after my test is done, like I'm gonna go hang out with my friends and go have a good time. And so um, I think that realizing that if I just had a hard week at practice and I gave it my all there, what's something else I can do to balance out the rest of my life and make sure that I'm still, still doing well as a human. I think a lot of it is hard because you get caught up in the day to day of you wake up, you have classes, you need to go to lift and then practice, and then you need to study, and then you need to find somewhere to eat dinner and all of that and hang out with your friends. And so I think that it's really important just to find the balance and what works for you. For me, it's always making sure that I prioritize my me time. I make sure I have an hour of my day where I choose to do whatever it is I want to do, whether that's watch a show, hang out with my friends, or just like take a moment and just chill. Like, I think that that's really important too.
Yeah, when you're running a full class schedule and 20 hours a week during soccer, it can be balance can be a loaded term, but I think you honed in on it perfectly as far as finding those little pockets. Maybe it's just going to dinner with your friends or spending some time on the weekends, but even an hour can make up for a week long worth of grueling grit of practice and studying.
Yeah, for sure.
You're going into exercise science. You're sophomore now, so you got a couple years left, right? What's next for you?
Yeah, so for me, I think that it's within the next like year and a half or so, I'll apply to PT school and try to pursue physical therapy. But I've also have an opportunity maybe to try to go pro in soccer. So I might try to pursue that first, but we'll kind of see, how things all play out. Obviously, I'm young, so there's still a lot of time ahead, but I mean, I swear it was just yesterday I was starting college, so time flies. But yeah, so my goal would be just to eventually I want to work um with patients that are maybe going through injury and try to like nurse them back to health and get them back to where they need to be, whether that's athletes recovering from an athletic injury or just people that just need help in their daily life. Like I just want to make an impact on people that way.
It's wonderful. As someone who's gone through quite a few surgeries, I have never had a greater appreciation for physical therapy than after my knee replacement. Those
Oh my gosh.
those people are lifesavers.
Yeah, I can imagine. Knee replacement is no joke.
Yeah, the first one was horrible because I didn't have proper physical therapy. The second one, I was golden after like 6 weeks doing the bike. I was all good. Physical therapy, I have nothing but amazing things to say about it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
I have no doubt you will go on to make an incredible impact. You're still young in your journey, but you've gone through a lot. What piece of advice or would tell to your younger self looking back?
Yeah. I would say try not to be so hard on yourself. I think a lot of times we try to strive for perfection in anything in life, and that's not human nature. You're not meant to be perfect. So I think that I would just remind myself that strive for progress and not perfection because you know, nobody's meant to be perfect in anything. All people make mistakes. And so you need to give yourself grace in moments and understand that, setbacks are an opportunity to learn and to grow. And so I would just say just remember to focus on the process. Like you're not gonna go from point A to point B perfectly right away in a straight line. Like you might make some weird left and right turns, some loop de loops. You might go backwards and then forwards. Like just remembering that growth isn't linear and you're not going to be perfect. I think that that would be a huge thing that I wish I would have like kind of embraced when I was younger.
Me too. But those thoughts creep back in from time to time. What do you do to help remind yourself to that progress isn't perfect?
Yeah, so I always like to when I feel really overwhelmed with everything, maybe classes are getting hard, soccer's hard, everything's getting hard again. I like to kind of take a step back and I love to journal. So I think that it's really helpful to kind of get all your thoughts down on paper and just kind of like word vomit onto a page and get it all out. And then I love like daily affirmations. So maybe I'll just look up like an affirmation for when you're feeling burnt out. And so I like to write that on the page with, whatever I just spewed out. And so it kind of serves as just a reminder of like, okay, like you're good, things are tough, but like you've got this, you're okay. But I do think that it is natural to like need to get it out and like word vomit it, like experience the hard things, like, you verbalize it if you need to. And like, I do think it's good to kind of, I don't know, complain, but get it out and then once it's out, it's like, okay, like it's out. And then you can kind of hit that mental reset button and like get back after it. So I think that that's
Props to you. There's research by actually taking the time to write forces your brain to slow down and process the thoughts. It's like therapeutic to let it out in that capacity.
yeah, for sure. Like I have so many journals, they're all over the place. I don't know. I find a random piece of paper somewhere and I just get it out. But
I
yeah.
was going to ask, do you have a special favorite notebook or are you just kind of all over the place with journaling?
I do have one of my notebooks that I really like, and most of my stuff goes in there. But if it's a moment where it's not close and I just kind of need to whatever, either like open my random school notebook and rip out a page and put it there, or on my iPad, sometimes I'll just make like a new like notebook and just write it out in there too.
That's great. Sometimes those one-off ones are great because I can write it all out and throw that in the recycling and all of it's gone and I'm good.
Yeah, the symbol, it's out and it's gone. Like just toss it.
Savannah, anything else you want to share with your experiences with your sister or just life in general that you've learned along the way with our audience?
Yeah, a lot of times we're encouraged to be strong. Everyone has their own idea of what strength looks like, whether that's the big macho man with the muscles. But I think that true strength kind of comes in those quiet moments where maybe you're alone or it's not always an on the field championship game. Maybe it's I woke up and I have practice this morning and I don't really want to go, but I'm going to show strength in that moment and get myself ready and go. Or for my sister, it's she doesn't want to go to an appointment or she doesn't want to take a medication, but then it's like, no, like you need to do that. It's in those small little silent moments that true strength can show itself.
Those can be the hardest moments. It's like the last rep or two of round. If you can lean into it, that's truly when the strength comes.
Yeah, for sure.
Savannah, you have amazing perspective. You're an incredible person and supporting your sister. I can't thank you enough for not only bringing awareness to cystic fibrosis, but being an advocate for this community, especially acknowledging the fact that these diseases look so different from person to person. Just because what you're seeing on the outside, it does not mean you can't go on to accomplish great things. For anyone who has questions for Savannah or her sister, drop us a note. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Take care.